welcome back, Vertigo Nation, to another episode of Vertigo. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for coming back time after time. And if you are new here, I'm going to give you a second right now to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I promise this is the podcast that makes your head spin. You are not going to want to miss out when these podcasts drop. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button now. And thank you so much, and welcome to all the listeners. So today, I've got an interesting topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. I've got a pretty unique, I think, I don't know, maybe it's not unique. I was going to say I've got a pretty unique thought process on it because I work in IT, or had worked in IT. I've kind of left that field at this point in time. And, just ready, again, ready for a new chapter and ready for a new lease on life, ready to do, something different, I guess, not to sound so dramatic, new lease on life, like what the fuck, like that sounds pretty dramatic, right? But it's not, just really ready for change. I'm one of those people who likes change. I like to kind of push and learn. And not only that, I've got to be honest, I've missed the trades. I'm going back to work. I'm going to be a CNC machine operator, and looking forward to that next chapter of my professional career. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. And I got to be honest, man, as much as I have enjoyed being able to do some office work over the last few years, I miss being on the floor. When I was a union, painter, drywall finisher, worked in the oil field. You've heard me talk about all these things on the pod before. I don't know, man, I miss that laborious work. I really, really do. Also want to give a quick explanation. I had dropped a podcast. Okay, let me rewind. I had dropped a podcast last week, but after listening back to it, I was just really unsatisfied with it, and so I took it down. There wasn't anything wrong with it. There wasn't anything, whatever. I just felt that it was very all over the place and just very disjointed, I guess. And I had jumped around in the conversation a lot, which happens when you're trying to do the solos. So I don't know. I personally didn't find it very enjoyable listening back to it. And I just don't want to put that kind of content out. I thought it was kind of subpar. And so I deleted it. So there was a podcast. So I didn't miss last week. But I did miss last week because, like I said, I recorded it. I did put it up, and then I took it down. Like, it was literally up for like a day and a half, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to keep this because I want Vertigo to be a quality product. I don't want it to be something that I just release for the sake of releasing, and I felt like that's exactly what I did. So I felt like I kind of sold out a little bit, and it was like, nah, I just did it for the sake of doing it. And you could kind of tell listening to it that it wasn't like the other ones where my heart was really in it. So, yeah, so that's where that went, if anybody was curious. But here we are. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about AI. I'm going to get my son on the phone, and he is also interested in this topic. So I'm going to dial him up right now. So you're going to hear him come on the line here in just a moment. And we'll see what's going on here. Hopefully he'll answer. If not, that would be embarrassing.
Hello.
Hey, man, you are on Vertigo. I am just started the podcast to let the listeners know that I'd be giving you a call, so I'm glad that you answered. What's going on?
No, just dad duty. About to feed baby Max some lunch.
Yeah, man. I know. I missed the little bugger. He's getting so big and crawling all over the place.
Yeah, we had soccer this morning. He plays more soccer than Parker does.
Yeah, I know.
It is crazy.
Yeah?
Parker's like too nervous to go out there. She doesn't ever go out during soccer, but he'll crawl right out in the field, try to go get the ball.
Oh, my God, man.
Coach always tells me, the second one, that's the one that wants to play. The first one never wants to play.
Right. She'll get the hang of it. She's so young, though, still.
Yeah, and she's a lot younger than all the other kids. There's 5 and 6-year-olds on her team. It's crazy.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective for the listeners who don't know our family, she's 2, so so 2 years old playing with 4, 5, and 6 years, even 4 is a big jump.
Yeah, I don't know why. Usually they do pre-K They do like a pre-K league and a kindergarten league, but for some reason this year they mixed the two.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Yeah, probably just maybe enrollment numbers are down. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they have 10 teams.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, they could have easily done, I think so anyway, but they still, I'm glad that we have something like we do. I mean, it's a huge program for Oswego, but
Yeah.
it definitely, I wish they would have kept the pre-K and the kindergarten separate, and maybe they will for the spring. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I think sports are so important. I think they're just, I think any community that has sports and things like, and the arts too, equally, I think, it's important. It gives the kids something to do. And I like the discipline that comes with being able to do that stuff, so yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
important.
Like, it's nice for Parker to have to listen to somebody that's not just us,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
somebody else telling her, do this, and you could see like how much he has changed, even since like the first practice, how much he like listens to her coach better now, and how she's more comfortable with her coach now. And
Right. Well, while we're on the sports, so I already introduced. I told the listeners we're going to be talking a little bit about AI, and I do want to get into that topic. But before we get there, since we're talking about sports, you and I had talked, God, quite a few weeks ago. It's kind of crazy, actually. So, Real American Freestyle, which was the promotion that Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan were starting, which is ironic because they're both professional wrestlers from the scripted world of sports entertainment. And yet Hulk Hogan was really behind this idea of starting Real American Freestyle, which is professional wrestling, like not
Olympic
scripted.
wrestling.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like, how do you? I don't know, because wrestling fans, professional wrestling fans, get really pissed when you say the sport is fake. So I try to be respectful enough to say it's scripted and not fake, because obviously, even though they're not really fighting, they're very athletic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not fake. It's just scripted. It's more like a, excuse me, like a TV show to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, right. That's exactly what it is.
I don't like watching it, really. It's not for me. But
Yeah.
for like, I can see how people are into it. It's no different than watching some action TV show. They're not really killing each other or fighting either. You know what I mean?
You ever hear Dana White talk about professional wrestling? Or no, not Dana White. Well, yeah, Dana White. Dana White gets kind of nasty about it. Joe Rogan, I meant, though. You ever hear Joe Rogan's comments on it?
I probably have. I just don't care enough to
Oh, my God.
them.
He roasts it so bad. It's kind of funny. It's kind of humorous. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you are so... Like, he tries to talk about it as if it were UFC. And it's like, dude, it's not UFC, though. It's entertainment. Like, he just... It's so far over his head. Like, he just doesn't grasp it, I guess.
My opinion about wrestling is, like WWE wrestling. I'm not against it. I don't think it's that crazy, or like I said, because I do think of it more like a TV show versus like a sport, I guess.
Right.
However, the outfits are a little weird,
Yeah. No,
I don't
that's
know why
true.
the dudes are wearing underwear.
Yeah.
That's the one part I never really got. They're like in underwear and boots. It's like, who the fuck? If they were trying to be real, who's wearing that to a wrestling match? Who the fuck's wearing their underwear and their leather boots?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely not in
like
sport.
Kurt Angle wore a singlet. That made sense,
Right. No, I
Or
agree
like
with you.
Brock Lesnar wore like shorts and MMA gloves. That makes sense.
Yep, it's very true.
Undertaker wore a singlet. Then we had the, Batista, who was like in fucking Daisy Dukes and leather boots.
Even less than Daisy Dukes, I think, man.
Yeah, it's strange, but the sport itself, I can get it.
So, real quick, so before I digress to it, so my point is, Real American Freestyle, they had their first event, but man, there is some wild shit that happened right off the gate. So right out of the gate, so Hulk Hogan obviously passed away. So you've got, before the inaugural event, the founder passes away, so that can't be great for the sport. And then Ben Askren, who they were really leaning into for the promotion, ended up having to get a double lung transplant. Like, and dude, he doesn't even look the same anymore now.
No. He's not the same. I don't think he'll ever be the same.
No, I mean he'll probably never be involved in sports. I mean, because when you get a transplant like that,
Well,
you have to get
involved.
there's serious medications you got to take to keep infection away, and like you know he won't compete. How's
Yeah,
that? He won't compete.
yeah. I think he'll stay involved in the sport.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll ever be able to compete in the sport again. Yeah.
No, I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised, mainly because of infection. Like that's the biggest thing I
I
think.
mean, staph.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
I
big
mean,
one.
even after he heals, like so after everything is healed, 10 years down the line, right? And I know this because we have a close friend who had a daughter who had a kidney transplant. I'm not sure if you know who I'm talking about. I just didn't want to say it live in case they, you know. But
Yeah.
and she's got to worry about infection for the rest of her life because it's not her kidney. Her body can still reject it, from what I understand. I don't
Yeah.
know that for I'm not trying to sound like I know medically, but that's my understanding at least. And I imagine
I
he would
feel
be
like.
in the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like I heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you watch the inaugural event by chance?
No.
I watched some clips on YouTube, man. I mean, it's good. I think Fox, I think, picked it up for streaming. I think so. Uh, I put the second event on my calendar so I can pay attention to that. So I'm definitely gonna try to watch it.
The one thing that I will say that's like nice about something like that versus, obviously MMA is my sport, but like the nice thing about that versus MMA is where the same person can compete in almost every tournament.
Yeah.
Where in MMA that's not the case, you know what I mean? They can only compete once every couple of months,
Yep.
at the most.
You want to, if you want my opinion, what I think would be really cool is for a new promotion to come along that is similar to One FC, and where they have grappling matches in between the MMA matches, and so you get a little taste of everything.
Well,
And
UFC has their grappling
yeah, they do.
leagues now.
Yep.
I
I would.
think, dude, it's really hard to trust the just the integrity, I guess, of the other promotions. Like last night, Usman Nurmagomedov, that came out wrong. He just fought, I think, for one, and he won like a very controversial decision in Saudi Arabia. And he won like 50-45, but a lot of people didn't believe it was even close to a 50-45.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like as much as people talk shit about the UFC, man, their shit's not rigged. And any time there's been a decision that was like a bad decision, the whole UFC team, including Dana White's all over it.
No, you're right.
They saw what happened with boxing and how boxing went downhill pretty quick because nobody could trust it anymore. And I think that's the scary part about other promotions is because really the UFC doesn't need it. The UFC has so much wealth, and not just in money, but in fighters and amount of fighters and amount of good fighters, that they don't need to fake anything. They don't need
No, you're
to,
right.
to help the fighters in any way like that.
No, I would agree with that. And before I go too far down that rabbit hole, I also just want to say quick that I have been watching a lot of the Mark Kerr interviews because of the
Yeah, I
Smashing
want to watch
Machine.
the movie.
You went and saw it?
No, I want to.
Oh,
I
man.
wanted. I was going to this weekend if I got a chance, but I'm too busy all weekend.
Dude, you and I, when we get done with the pod, we got to chat because I would like to see it too. So maybe you and I should go sneak off for a night of men's night where we can go watch a late showing after the kids are in bed or something.
Mhm.
But anyway, I've been watching a lot of interviews and with Mark Kerr and just the early days of MMA. It's so fascinating. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to let us get into our topic here. So you and I were talking earlier, and you kind of brought up our artificial intelligence or AI. And I'm really curious to hear your perspective on this. And I'm wondering how different my perspective is going to be. One, because of the age gap. I mean, there's 25 years between us. But the other thing is working in the field of IT, even though I don't now, I have a very different relationship with AI. So what is it about this topic that is interesting to you? Like, why did you want to bring it up, or why did you want to talk about it?
Dude, I think what's fascinating solely what's fascinating more than anything, if I'm trying to keep my opinion out of it just for this one second here, is how quick it's moving is insane. I mean, you look at AI 2 years ago versus AI now, it's like not even the same thing. You look at the videos that were made by AI, the guys like, would have extra fingers, and it was very clearly AI, and it's like now you can't tell, you know.
Yeah.
You watch a video, you have no idea whether that's real or if that's AI. And that, more than anything, it's impressive.
It is impressive. I find it so, and I find it kind of scary. I now on the opposite end, well, not on the opposite end, but different. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say, so it doesn't matter. So Minna was listening to this song, and she just absolutely has fallen in love with this song, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It'll come to me at some point in the podcast, and I'll blurt it out like a, you know. Anyway, so she's been listening to this song, and I thought the song, it's a good song. First of all, it's not a terrible song or anything, but the voice on the song, I'm just like, something's weird about it. So anyway, I got laying in bed and I started listening to the song. And then I was like, who is this artist? So I started Googling the artist. Well, after, this rabbit hole of, you know how that goes with Google, right? Going down the rabbit hole. Turns out that I find this whole article on Reddit about the song, and it's an AI generated song. It's not a real artist. It's AI.
That part's kind of iffy.
So it's weird, and I found that to be so strange. And then I actually ended up finding the artist, quote unquote, artist website, and they admit fully that it's AI.
I think they don't have a choice. I think legally they have to.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably, but I got to be honest. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I guess on one hand, it's like I'm just sitting here saying, yeah, it's not a bad song. The song kind of grabbed me a little bit. It was interesting. It was a good song. The lyrics were great. The vocals were great, but it wasn't a real person at all in the process, and of recording it. And I just wonder, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think that there's, like it is kind of a scary thing with AI, with not just music, all sorts of art. You know what I mean? However, I think in reality, there's one thing that AI will never be able to fully grasp, and that's just real human experience, and I think there's so much more than just music that's put into music, or so much more than just art that's put into painting or whatever. Like, that stuff comes from experience. And I'm not just saying like experience in music, but like you listen to some people, the way they sing or the way they write music, and it's like, oh, these people have been through some shit,
Right.
And I think that's one thing that AI will never be able to grab. And I just think that's what's going to set it out. There's going to be a point where people are like, this AI music's good, but it doesn't have that thing,
Yeah. Well, and I worry about that. I think too. I don't know though. I mean, and I don't know if I'm skipping too far ahead, but I also think about it in the sense of I know somebody who, so they came in for service on their computer when I was working at Express, and they fully admitted, they got asking about AI, specifically Chat GPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we got chit chatting about it, and of course it's a hot thing, man. Everybody's got an opinion about it. Well, this person went on to tell me how they basically talk with Chat GPT throughout their day. They get advice, they get counseling from it. And I start thinking about the human dependency on it as if it were really a human. And I think that that's dangerous, in my opinion.
I think that can be dangerous, but I think that when cell phones first came out, a lot of people said the same thing about cell phones. There comes a point where it's just part of life. Like, you look at people in middle school and high school now, like, cell phones are just, like all the old people back then were like, they have a computer in their pocket. That's not good, and it's like, it just becomes a part of life that every generation, you just learn, and you learn how to use it positively and negatively. Not saying that all things, social media is like one, it's like, that could be a really negative thing, but it could be a really positive thing too. I think that's how AI is going to be looked at.
So I want to comment on that. So as you know, I went up to Moose River Plains, and it was over a month ago already, back in August, right? The end of August.
Yep.
and there's no cell phone signal there at all. I mean, not even hopes of grabbing one by standing next to a tree and, doing a pirouette while you're hanging over the side of a cliff. Like, you're not getting a signal, period. Your cell phone is useless. And I was up there for 3 days. And I got to tell you, man, I kind of have a different opinion on having a computer in my pocket. It was kind of nice to go back to the dark ages a little bit and not have to like Google everything or like just really depend on my own self and self-knowledge, I guess, that I don't know. I feel like there's such a dependency on this little computer in our pockets now,
Yeah, and it is really nice to go a couple days without it. But without it, like I couldn't be on the podcast right now without it. You know what I mean?
And you're right. And I definitely think there's good that comes from it. I don't want to get down on this like, oh, it's terrible, because I own one, obviously, so that I would be a hypocrite right out the gate, but I do think that we are too connected in some aspects too, though. Like, I don't know. I feel I want to make that. I'm going to make that statement. I feel like we're too connected. I feel like we could benefit from being a little disconnected,
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a real thing. But I think that just comes from people. I think right now, even if people didn't have cell phones, they'd be disconnected. People just don't like people anymore. I think it's like a real thing. And like right now, houses in the country are always the most expensive right now. They're the hardest to get. And the reason is just simply because people don't want to be around people. They don't want neighbors, including me. I'm not even saying it like I'm some human loving person. I like people, but I definitely, people just don't like people anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that has nothing to do with cell phones and social media. Maybe that added to it, but I just think naturally everybody's bitches now.
But it's strange, and I'll piggyback on that comment in a minute, because I do think that you made some good points in there. But I also think it's strange if you think about it in the terms of AI. We don't like people, but yet we obviously long for these relationships, because why else would we be talking to ChatGPT like it's our friend?
Well, 99% of people aren't talking to ChatGPT like their friend. That's the odd 1% out.
I don't know, though. I just saw in the news there was that kid who committed suicide because he was having that conversation with ChatGPT. Did you hear this in the news?
I've heard about it, but again, that's still the same thing. Like if you go around and you have conversations with 10 different people that you know, how many of them are going to tell you they talk to ChatGPT like a relationship? None of them. You're always going to hear that odd story, because that's the most interesting story. That's the job of the news and social media.
I guess I agree with that, but I wonder, I don't know. I just wonder if we're going to see an uptick in that trend, I guess. I'm not,
might, But there's people who fucking think they're in relationships with their car and shit. You know what I mean? It's like there's always those people who are just, I don't know, odd, I guess, or they feel like they don't have a connection with people, so they look for it in something else.
No, I don't disagree, and I think, I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I haven't formed a solid opinion one way or another on AI, because I just feel like it's too early in the stages. Even though it is a technology that is rapidly growing, it's still in its infancy. And I see the pros and cons. So, for example, working in IT, AI can do the basics of that job now. It can do simple problem solving. And so if you're having a problem with your email, per se, and then you say to AI, hey, I can't sign into my email, AI could potentially fix that in just as quickly as I can, right? Because it's like there's a very specific steps that it's going to follow. Now, when it comes to more advanced problem solving, maybe it's not there yet, but I'm willing to bet that as far as IT from a help desk perspective, holy, that's a mouthful. IT from a help desk perspective, I think is going to be phased out to AI. And I can say that with confidence that within the next 10 years, I don't think there's going to be much of a help desk type position anymore for IT. It's going to become
Well,
very
I,
specialized to code writing and software development and shit like that. You know.
I'll be honest. You said 10 years. I think two. I think if I think within 2 years. And for somebody who works IT, yeah, that sucks. But for other people who don't work IT, that sounds great. Because having to call the help desk is the most fucking pain in the ass thing usually. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to be like, yeah, I can fix this. Plus, I think that as much as it causes a dependency, it causes independency, where people are going to go, I if I can just get a little bit of help from AI, then I could do this myself, and I don't have to rely on an IT company, or I don't have to rely on customer service or whatever else. I can figure this out.
Right. No, and
It's like people have that issue with YouTube, but like you go on YouTube, you can figure out how to change your brakes, you can figure out how to change a tire or your oil or do a wheel bearing. Like the mechanics weren't like, "Fuck, YouTube's coming out, we're screwed." You know what I mean?
no, no, I
But it
agree.
did help.
No, I agree. I don't disagree with any of that actually. I don't
No,
know. I think it's going to
I'm
be interesting.
more than anything, I'm being the devil's advocate right now. But I mean, I don't think that AI is going to be completely good either. I do think that it has a lot of flaws, um, and it can be scary. But I do think that it's not all bad, and I do think that unfortunately, some jobs are going to go out the window. I think there's going to be like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, everybody was saying go into computer engineering. That's the job you want to get into. And unfortunately, a lot of people got into that because that's what was big. And all those jobs are going to tank. I think all those jobs are going to disappear.
Right.
Which kind of is a negative thing, but I think in a reverse side, it does open up more jobs and other opportunities. I also think that it gives more people opportunity to go, you know what? That's not what I wanted to do anyway. The truth is, I think that we're going to get to a spot where almost any job AI can do. I mean, there's certain jobs AI can't do. Doctors,
Healthcare, right?
mechanics,
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's nothing they could do. But I think that, right now, everybody goes into a business going, okay, I want to get into this college and do this because that's what's going to be, good.
Right.
And that's cool and all. But if AI takes all those jobs, then maybe you'll actually go into what you want to do, not what other people think you should do.
Right. No, I don't know. I see I see the pros and cons too, I guess. And again, I haven't really formed an opinion either way, I guess like you said, like I think it's all depends. I don't like it necessarily in like I don't like music being 100% generated by AI.
Yeah.
I guess as somebody who is an artist, I feel like there's not a whole lot of creativity that's going into that. But
You're gonna see that
I
where
don't
that's.
know.
I think the one thing art's not gonna last. People are gonna be able to tell that. Like right now, it's hard, but I think very shortly people will be like, "Oh yeah, that's not. We want the soul in music."
Yeah, you got to have the humanness to it. I think for at least in the arts, music, TV, movies, theater.
I mean, there's also scary shit happening with AI where like the creators are trying to shut it down, and it's like naturally backing itself up because it wants to survive and shit. So that's weird.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So my boss at Express, his name is Wills. Him and I got on a conversation. God, I mean, probably a month or more ago. But we were talking about AI, and he brought that up to me. He actually said to me, that the creators are kind of like, geez, we wanted to shut this component down, and we find that it's offloading itself over here, and it's saving parts of itself over here, and it's like, how did it figure out how to do that? Now, I called bullshit at first. I'm like, no way, that's not no way. And then I looked into it myself, and I'm like, holy fuck, he's not wrong. This is happening. So it's interesting that you brought that up because I was actually going to bring that up too.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. But also, like, AI could do good too. Like, I remember I read this story about somebody like reaching out to AI, being like, I'm really hurting right now, like mentally, and it's really tough, and like all this whatever. I have this problem, and this problem, and AI gave them like a very human-like response, which was almost creepy a little bit when I read it. And man, I think I took a out of it. Excuse me, I might sound a little worse now. I just went on the speaker.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I think I took a screenshot of it, but it was like a really cool thing where somebody had just messaged AI and had talked about how like they were feeling rough, and then it was it said so. This person, I didn't screenshot whatever they had said or saved the screenshot of what the person said, but AI said, thanks for opening up. That takes real strength, especially when you're carrying so much. I can hear the weight in your words, and I want you to know that you're not alone, even if it feels that way right now. You're doing everything you possibly can, so let's look at some things that we can help you with. Let's take a breath and look at things a little more clearly. And then it lists like reasons why they may feel this way and how like scientific looks into emotion. Max is making his way on the podcast.
Yeah, there you go, Max. There you go, buddy.
And then gave like links to actual resources to help as well.
Right.
I think that's like it was a very human-like, which is why I saved it, because I'm like, it's a little odd how they answered it. That sounds like something an actual therapist would say.
Right.
But but I thought it was really cool. They were like, look, you're going through this shit, which sucks. And then they gave legit links. Like, not most therapists won't even do that. Be like, look, here's a spot to reach out for this. Here's a spot to reach out for this. Here's a spot to reach out for this. Like, actual links where people go, oh, shit, I didn't even know about that.
Right.
So I do think it has good,
No, I agree. And like I said, I don't want to harp on it. I think it's just about the awareness. And, I think there's just so... I think part of the problem, too, is there's just so much misinformation that is spread so easily, and that it's really hard, at least in my opinion, it's really hard to decipher, like, okay, wait a minute, what's true and what's not true about what's happening right now? Because, there's just, let's face it, people get news in different, I guess, ways now, right? I mean, I've had people tell me that they saw something on TikTok, and then I've heard people say that they've shared this on Facebook or whatnot. And it's like, I'm always careful because I'm like, I don't know. You got to check your sources. Like, who's saying that really, and is it coming from a credible source? So I'm always careful with that. But I mean, I also have to respect the fact that people do consume news in different ways. It's not like you just flip on the TV and go to your favorite channel, and you know what I mean? So it's hard, I guess what I'm saying, it's hard to discern, what's true and what's not too.
I think that could be possibly a good thing about AI too. Now, this depends on who's behind it, but as of like right now, and they did have some issues in the beginning, but most of AI now is not sided with any politics or anything like that. So if you ask questions, it's only going to give you facts.
Well, I guess, it depends,
but again,
right?
that could depend on who gets behind it. If a left-wing company ends up buying one AI and a right-wing company ends up buying another AI, they're going to program it to not be 100% truthful either,
Well, that's the problem. You've got humans are the ones behind it all at the end of the day. And so therefore, I don't know. It's crazy. Well, then I hear, and that brings up a perfect, case in point. And I'm telling this in a humorous way to the listeners. I'm not taking sides, but I mean, I've heard some horrendous shit about Grok, who I guess is the Twitter/X AI, and I've heard that he comes up with some, or Grok, not to make it male or female, but Grok, I guess, comes up with some pretty ludicrous and audacious shit from time to time. I've never played it. I don't have X. I don't have an X account. I have no interest in it. I don't really think that people really give a shit what I want to tweet. I don't know. I find it really weird that people like hang on to people's words so tightly, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know anything about Grok. I know Google was having an issue with that too. Like, I remember Joe Rogan had talked about how like they had asked Google, or like when Google AI was coming out and getting popular, like they asked it to show a picture of the Nazi army, and there was like, Asians and African Americans and all this stuff in the Nazi army. It's like, obviously there was no Asians and blacks and Indians and in the Nazi army.
Right. No, I think that would have been.
Being
That
like
would have been.
progressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's anything that the Nazis stood for, but yeah, good point.
Yeah. I think the Nazis were like, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that's not happening. That's crazy, man.
I've been on a real kick with like history lately.
Yeah.
And one of the things, most of the time it's ancient history. Like at night, I do a lot of history on I do a lot of research on ancient history.
You ever watch the show Drunk History? I think it's on Comedy Central, I think, but you
I
could
don't
probably
know.
find it on YouTube.
No, I don't know.
You might like that.
It's a lot of fun. I do like doing it, and the reason I say that is just because I've recently, even more recently, I've gotten into like the idea that Adolf Hitler never killed himself and that he just escaped.
That's a popular
The mystery
theory.
is like where he went.
Right. That's a popular theory. There's a lot of theories that say that he did, in fact. Oh my gosh, there is a podcast that they do history, and it's Pappas something.
Giannis Pappas.
Giannis Pappas. Yes. Do you listen to that? Do you watch it? Do you listen to that?
The History Hyenas.
Yes.
Check it out.
They are great, man.
They're very smart, very funny.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is so great.
But I could go on, especially ancient history. If you ever want to talk about ancient history on the podcast, you let me know. I'll fucking hop on that shit so fast.
All right.
That's all I do. All I do is look into that shit lately. So I'm like Mary tells me I'm a walking trivia questionnaire or whatever. Trivia game.
Well,
that's like my shit.
Believe it or not, we're coming up on 40 minutes in on this. So I'm gonna cut this loose in just a minute. However, I will absolutely schedule you to do an ancient history podcast because I like the variety, and I think that would be a fun topic to get into. And I got to be honest too. I need a break from like the mental health stuff for just a minute, just a quick minute. Like I'm very proud of Vertigo, and I'm very proud that we've addressed a lot of stuff, on the show. But I also miss these kind of conversations too a little bit. So I definitely would love to do that. I'd take you up on that ancient history for sure.
Yeah, dude, I'm definitely not an expert. I didn't go to college for it. I can't claim to be an expert, but I've done a lot of research and I've done a lot of my own studies. So not studies. I shouldn't call it studies. When I say studies, I watch a lot of shows, read a lot of books, read a lot of articles.
No, I think you and I are the same in the sense that like I like to read many different perspectives and then kind of find my own middle that I believe. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I like to, even in politics, right? I love to read the far left as much as I love to read the far right. And then I kind of like, yeah, I agree here. And I actually think more.
Then you go, oh, they're both fucking stupid.
Yeah, right. Like we don't need either one of these parties. Truth.
No, look at that.
Yeah,
both
man.
The people who are far one direction are fucking idiots. Would you believe it?
Yeah, right.
Not to get political, but
no.
I think 90% of people are in the middle, but
they are.
Everyone, the only shit you see are people who are way to each side, and it's like those people are so.
Well, there's no news if you're.
I'm being very offensive. They're not dumb.
No,
it's
I
just
know.
That they are like almost brainwashed to think that these people actually give a shit, or that these politics actually give a shit. It's like.
No, extremism in either form, in my opinion, isn't
in any
good.
Form.
Right. And I don't care if you're far left or far right. In any form, it's not healthy. And I also agree with you. I think that 90% of the population falls. Like, there's people who are left of center and right of center. And I think that's just normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to wrap it there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's okay. We're about to get ready to go to Pumpkin Fest.
All right, man. Well, listen, enjoy. And thanks for being an impromptu guest, and I will catch up with you soon.
Alrighty.
All right, man. Take care.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, too. All right. So there you have it from my son, Sean, joining us on the podcast a little bit. That was very nice of him to hop on. Like I said, that was very much impromptu. We happened to be chatting as I was prepping to jump on the podcast, and he said, I would love to do a conversation based around AI, and I said, absolutely. So, and I'm curious what other people's, and this is a topic that I would love to have other guests jump in on. I think that there are many, many, many opinions about AI, and I'm in a phase where I'm kind of just like listening to all of it, and really, like I said, I haven't really come up with my own thought process on it at this point. I'm very much in the early stages of like somebody can tell me some good that it's done, and I'm like, okay, I can vibe with that. I get that. And then somebody tells me some fucked up shit about it, and I'm like, we got to be careful of that, right? So I feel like my opinion flip flops very much, and so I'm not really sure. But yeah, so we'll continue the discussion on AI, especially as more people want to jump in. So I'm definitely open for that topic. And October is here. My favorite month of the year. I love October. I'm a huge Halloween. I just love Halloween. I love horror movies. Matter of fact, I've already, the other day, I was watching Psycho, the original black and white. I love the black and white movies. Matter of fact, I've got a whole left arm sleeve dedicated to the 30s and 40s black and white era of horror movies. I've got Dracula and Psycho and The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein. I've got Nosferatu, which is actually pre-1920s silent film from Germany. So yeah, I've got, I just love. I don't know. To me, like the black and white movies, there's something about a black and white horror movie that is just creepy in general. And this might make me weird, but I love to, like, sometimes I can just put those old black and white movies up, like The Wolfman or Dracula or The Mummy, and just mute them and just have them on in the background as like scenery. And I just love it. I love it. And of course, I love the whole genre, and I love getting into the. I thought about doing my right arm as a mantra to the '80s slasher films, like, oh god, of course it's just Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th is the one that I was trying to spit out, but just horror in general, I just love it. I've been really into. I think it's cool that there's been a resurgence with some of the '90s, like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think they just remade. I know. What is it with everybody remaking movies? It's kind of weird. It's like we ran out of original ideas, so we're just remaking. Like, oh, let's just remake this one. We'll just tell a story slightly different, but call it the same title. It's like bizarre. I don't know. I don't really get it, but whatever. It is what it is, I suppose. But anyway, my point being, I guess they just remade I Know What You Did Last Summer. I haven't seen it yet. I'm kind of a sucker for the originals. I remember when they remade Footloose like 10 years ago now. But I was like, what was wrong with the original Footloose, man? Like, it didn't need an update. Like, I don't know. So I think it's kind of weird that they do that, but whatever. I've been wicked into the Terrifier movies. I love the Terrifier movies. Damien Leone's Terrifier, I think, is just absolutely incredible. And I finally just got to watch in completion Terrifier 3, which I hadn't had a chance to watch that all the way through, so it was nice to be able to do that. And last, what is on my playlist? Well, I got to be honest, I have been in the that was weird. If anybody heard that weird vibration, I think it was, I've got a beverage cooler in the studio. I think there's some gremlins in here messing with it. I'm not sure. Maybe it's time for me to wrap this up and get the hell out of Dodge. Anyway, my playlist. Yeah, I have been on a Pearl Jam kick. I don't know. I've just been stuck since August. I have been going through and just listening to Pearl Jam. I've listened to all their albums, I don't know, 14 of them, I think. I couldn't even tell you. But their live albums are like, it's so weird because I was definitely one of those fans who, they were popular when I was in high school. So, Pearl Jam was like one of the it bands. Of course, Nirvana, Soundgarden, that whole Seattle grunge thing. But I really gravitated towards Pearl Jam. 10, came out in 91, and that album was just absolutely incredible. The follow-up Verses was absolutely incredible. And then Vitalogy just blew my mind when Vitalogy came out. And And then I don't know, like a typical, 20-year-old at that point in time, I think like I just kind of drifted away, started listening to different stuff, whatever. But anyway, I revisited some of their music, and boy, I just find their albums to be absolutely incredible. So if you are a fan of Pearl Jam but also have left the band for a little while, revisit their discography, man, because they've got just some killer albums, and their live stuff never disappoints. They are absolutely incredible live, and I've never seen them live, so I've only listened to the live albums. So definitely am like looking forward to putting that on my bucket list, and maybe in getting to go see a Pearl Jam show would be pretty incredible. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, man. Again, I really appreciate everybody tuning in and listening in. It's been great. And if you are new here, again, go ahead, please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment. Join in the conversation. I love to hear from the listeners. I love to hear what you're thinking about. And I love to hear your thoughts on these topics. And so thank you so much, Vertigo Nation. Thank you for listening to Vertigo. This is the podcast that will make your head spin. Peace.